The recipes brewed on this show are provided by HomebrewSupply.com. Fresh ingredients, best prices, and same-day shipping. Make your brew day better with HomebrewSupply.com.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Recipe Recap. This is a show where we talk about the recipes we're brewing, we go over our brew day experiences, and then we compare it to a commercial beer that's in the same style. Today, in the next couple episodes, because we film two at a time, if you haven't caught on why we wear the same clothes in some of the episodes, both beers we're going over today are beers that me and my dad brewed. So I'm really nervous for a couple reasons. One, the beers my dad and I brewed. But,
that's cool.
But we also bottled.
Yeah.
And bottling's not our thing. As like when we talk about it on our normal podcast that we don't like bottling, it's not a shtick. Like we really don't like bottling. I don't want to speak for you guys, but kegging.
But it's easier when we're doing this for you to do that. You have that cool Blinkman beer.
I did. I brought it back too.
Yeah, you did bring my bottle. That's the reason I'm not good at bottling is I don't have my bottle.
But I brought it back. So let's go ahead and also, you know, the artwork on it is probably the best thing. If we have anything good to say about this beer today, hopefully it's that the artwork at least held up. So let's pour mine, and we can pour the Altstadt as well. We were going to open up a mini keg of Schlüssel, but we did not bring the stuff to transfer to a keg, and Todd didn't want to challenge me to drinking that whole mini keg in one night. I was ready for the challenge, but Todd, you declined. You wanted to keg it, which makes me even more convinced that I'm not going to get any of that Schlüssel. You've been holding on to it for a year? No, not quite.
I'm going to try to transfer it over in the next couple of days and drink it when all those guys are up here this weekend.
That first Schlüssel, though, that you've had.
Oh, you won't be here, though.
Exactly. And I'm going to be here the week after when it'll be empty by then.
I'll save it for that when we have our guest here.
You know what almost makes it worse? James tried to bring me back my own mini keg, and the TSA stole it from me.
It was not just, it was Fuchsion and it was Schlüssel, right?
Fuchsion and Schlüssel.
Anyway, they got.
But y'all brought me back cool glasses. One thing I want to note at first, so let's talk about, before we go into the recipe, my color looks darker. James, you're the alt guy. But before I tell you about our mashing and all that, is mine still in that SRM realm?
It is.
Okay.
I would say it is, wouldn't you, Todd?
I think so. It's pretty dark, but you know, I'm trying to remember all the alt beers we've had.
I would say this Fuchsion is a darker alt beer than like a Schumacher or like the Iriga.
Yeah, the Altstadt, if anything, it might be a little lighter.
I think it's a little light.
Yeah.
You know,
so
it's supposed
So
to be
between our
copper.
two, we're in the realm.
Yeah.
But because that's what something too, some people write in asking about SRM, where I know it's important when you want to stay in the style, especially in competition. You want to make sure in the SRM. For me and my dad, I've literally never looked at color as a judging criteria, only because we don't submit it. And if it tastes fine,
that's one of the lower things on my totem pole.
Well, we brewed the blondest alt on accident.
Oh yeah.
And it was wonderful, but it was not.
You say that blonde alt was my favorite version of your alt.
It was the closest, believe it or not,
the blondest
that I've brewed to a Schlüssel, but this is more like a Fuchsion color. But
all right, Todd, let's take a drink of the one me and my dad brewed.
Okay.
I want to see first off to make sure there's no oxidation during the bottling process because I'm terrified of.
it's really dry.
It is really dry. I need honest feedback on the recipe, especially, James has always prefaced that the alt beer might be one of the hardest beers to brew.
It is.
And this is our first time doing it in an all grain kit. Mm-hmm. We did not step mash. We also had some hiccups. Let me go over that, and then we'll go over the build of it.
Well, let's try the other. Let me taste the other beer so I can get an idea.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but yes, we can do both. See, theirs has that familiar bite, the biscuit, that crisp end that I feel like my dad and I were missing out on that one. Now, we instructions call for mashing at 150 for 60 minutes. We did that. Unfortunately, at the end of it, when we opened up the mash tun, it was at 138.
That's probably what it is.
And we didn't do anything to resolve it. So you were
Right.
telling me trying to pre-record, there's some things we could have done in hindsight.
Yeah, it's the reason why if you can't step mash, 150 or 152 is preferable. But if you can step mash, what I do is I'll go, what we call the beta is the cooler range, the 145 to 148, or you can even argue that it's below, like 136 to 148. But if I'm step mashing, I'm going to hit it at 145, and then I'm going to go like all the way up to 158. So you can split the difference. You can go 30 minutes at 145, and then you can go 30 minutes at 158. That'll create the sweetness in the body for the alt beer that's kind of expected.
So I guess we could have step mashed. Oh, with a cooler igloo type system, what would you do for step mashing?
Well, one, you would definitely want to be on a 1-to-1 grain, water to grain ratio because it's a cooler and you're not worried about recirculation.
Correct.
Two, the reason why you want a 1-to-1 grain ratio is your water level is a lot lower, so then you can add in hotter water to bump that up.
Gotcha.
Plus, don't forget, go back and look at our video that we did on decoction mashing. You can take some of that grain, put it on the stove, boil it for 15 minutes, put it back in the mash tun.
Yeah.
Or the cooler, and bring it up that way. That's going to create your alpha, and it's going to give body. It's going to make a big difference in how it tastes. I think what we've got here, what did it end up on the gravity?
Well, our original gravity, we missed a bunch, man. We hit at 1040.
Okay.
It
calls for like 1048 to 1052.
Right, 1052 was the range we were going for, I believe.
Right.
The 1040 also, so we did our original gravity reading after cool down. So
Right.
let me explain what we did on cool down so more people in the comments can make fun of me and my father. The day we wanted to speed up the chilling process. My dad had chilled water. It wasn't ice, but it was chilled water.
Right.
And we added darn near a gallon during cool down.
Before you check the gravity.
Before we check the gravity, and I know, yeah, take that look off your face. We did that understanding it would mess with the ABV, it would bring it down a little, but the cooling down was more important. If we would have seen a number like 1040 beforehand, we may have, well, I know what we would have done. I would have called you. I would have said, James, we missed our numbers big time. What do we do? And you would have said, reheat, blah, 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 blah.
Well, that's the cool thing about all grain brewing is you can break this down and you can figure out what steps need to be done.
Yes.
We've done this ad nauseum, this recipe. I can't tell you how many times we've done this. It's very important. If you can do a step mash, if you can do a decoction, bring that temperature up. You want to be at the beta and you want to be at the alpha, and the alpha creates that body and that sweetness that it creates. The problem with, the reason why I said it tasted dry is it tasted to me like it was only beta
Right, yeah.
sugars created, because if you just do that, you're going to get, it takes a lot more grain because it doesn't create as much, but the sugars it creates completely fermentable. Whereas if you remember, that's the little chains. So the yeast like to eat the little chains. The alpha is the long chains. They eat the ends of it and leave a little bit left in and that's where you get the sweetness in the body.
Yeah, and it did finish at 1010. I mean, it finished out pretty quick
So it went real low.
It went real low. We finished at 3.9. I told my dad, because we were both, we've talked about it on the main show where somebody had said once, like, if you've never pitched beer, then your standards are too low. My standards might be low, guys, because this is still, I enjoy the taste of it.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
Oh yeah, no, it's good.
It's not, the taste is there. There's no off flavors. Like you said, I think it's very obvious that we can detect from the taste and from the information I gave you how it ended up this way.
Sure.
Where, same thing, like if we had opened it and it was cardboard tasty, I'd be able to tell you, like
Sure.
the oxidation. And,
No,
So
this is fine.
honestly, I don't think that the beer we're testing with, I mean, I love this brewery. I've been there many times, but I don't think that is very true to the style.
I
either.
agree. I think
So-
the color's too light,
Yeah,
and I think
and
that
it's too. It doesn't have that bite at all. At
it
the end.
doesn't.
do you think,
Yours has the bite. This has sweetness at the end. It finishes sweet. It doesn't have any bite at all. I think it's a difficult beer to use to compare it to.
I think
we should stop recording.
Two body.
We should stop recording. We should get the Schlüssel and open it up and just drink that all night. I mean, we should just do that to compare it to mine, just to make sure that it's not the same. No, kidding aside, I know, like, this isn't your favorite alt.
No.
And not just in the bigger picture of commercial beers. That's the thing about alt is even in Dusseldorf, where y'all just got back from, it varies. Maybe not so drastically.
And I prefer dry alt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So,
I'm like, hey, Dad, we did it.
So if you ever go to Dusseldorf, you can start off at Schlüssel, and you can literally hit 6 different alt beer breweries, and every single one of them tastes like alt, but they taste different.
They do. And, I think if you would have not added the gallon and checked it, you could have just added water until you got to where you wanted to be, and you wouldn't have had a problem. I think, James and I, we brew with a 3-to-1 water.
We did that Friday, by the way.
We put too much water in, and we brewed at a 3-to-1 ratio. We'll see how it comes out. So we all do these things.
And the most important thing, guys, is if you want to identify what happened and then take notes. Always take notes when you're brewing, because that way, if you have something that didn't turn out the way it wants, or it turns out better, you know how to recreate.
Well, it's going to be very interesting if we finish that beer and it's really, really good. We're going to be like, man, we should brew with a 3.
And I will say that I'm glad you harped on that, because my dad takes really good notes, and he writes down everything we did, just so, like, if this turned out to be the exact alt we wanted, which, to be fair, we don't necessarily know what we want. This is acceptable, but we will try it again and try to hit our numbers and then see how it turns out.
Yeah.
But taking good notes is going to ensure you can replicate it. And even in our igloo system, where it might be hard to replicate a losing efficiency from temperature, there was a lot of variables. We brewed outside.
Yeah.
It was a colder day at that point of the day. It was, there's a lot of factors. Brewing outside in Texas may not be the best bet.
Because that cooler, when we brewed in here with that cooler brew, we lost 2 degrees.
You told me.
In the entire hour, and you lost how many degrees?
We lost 12.
12.
Yeah,
so
it was
definitely
really cold. One thing you could have done too, though, is did you check the temperature while it was in there?
Because we're terrified of. We're still getting used to the system. It was no, it wasn't full. It wasn't that full.
So if it's not full, one of the things you could have done is one of 2 things. You could have added some hotter water to it, or you could have taken some liquid out and we heated it up and added it back on, which isn't much.
So that is worth mentioning. You're right. We brewed a 5-gallon batch in our 11-gallon coolers or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Is that I didn't even think about that during the brew day, that we have to consider that for efficiency too. If the fuller it was, it probably would have held the temperature,
was 5 gallons?
Correct. Yeah. This is a 5-gallon batch.
It wasn't full. Yeah,
So that would definitely
drop a lot
affect
more,
it. Yeah. See, hindsight.
So people brew 5-gallon batches and 10-gallon systems.
This is because I took one of our Patreon members' recipe kit, and I said, Joe, I'm leaving. I can't wait for you to make me my recipe kit, and I forgot to take 2 of them.
Yeah.
So whenever I emailed one of y'all to say, oh, your kit got delayed, I was the delay. But all right, let's talk about.
I think honestly, bottom line, it was mashed at a colder temperature,
Yes, sir.
and that's the reason why it's dry. But
It's
still
dry.
great.
I love dry, but it's a little. It doesn't have a lot of body.
No, it doesn't have a lot of body.
I like dry, but I want it to have some more of an oomph to it.
Yeah, and that's why you do the split
Is that a
mash on
technical
that.
term? Oomph?
Yeah, it is in Texas.
You pay the bills. It's whatever. So at the end of the day, it is this is obviously going to go. It's a sessionable alt beer.
Absolutely.
It'll go fine. I'm sure at Easter coming up, because we're probably going to have some of it left. People will drink. That's the great thing for me about alt beer, is no one knows what to compare it to.
Yeah.
So they're either going to like it or not like it, but they're not going to drink it and go, that doesn't really taste the style.
If it had you bottled it, and that's always a problem when you're bottling from a keg.
Yeah.
Is that you lost some carbonation?
I
too.
did,
If it had
yeah.
a little more carbonation, it would. That
would have helped with body?
Yeah.
But you know
Well,
what?
not with body, but with.
I actually like it better than this one.
I like.
Yeah, because this one's over carbonated.
Yeah, and it's too sweet.
It's too sweet. Oh, it's way too sweet. Yeah.
You do not like. You think any sweetness though is sweet? Yeah.
Oh no, but that's sweet. That's got a.
Yeah.
It's not so much that it has sweet in it. It has a very sweet end.
Right.
Yeah, it's got too much body and it's too sweet.
And when you drink an alt beer, you taste it and it has some sweetness to it, and then you open your mouth and it's got a it's got a bite at the end, and this doesn't have that bite.
It's what
It has
we call
the alt, the
effervescent.
Yes, that is, yeah.
It is very. It'll quench your thirst, and people look at that and they think, "Oh, that's a dark beer," but it's really.
I don't.
Well,
honestly, I don't. To me, this isn't an alt beer.
Yeah.
Wait, we're talking about mine?
No.
No,
It's okay if we were. It's okay
No.
if we
Yours
were.
is an alt beer.
You think so?
Yeah.
You're not just buttering me
I think
up?
the color's better.
No.
I mean, if you look at that, that's a Schlussel Fuchsen color right there.
Yeah.
So I can serve this
You
and
taste
call
the bite
it,
of the
I don't have to call this an American Amber. I can serve it
Oh.
and call it an alt beer.
Well, you taste that.
No, I do,
The
yeah.
bite comes from the grains, from the.
Yeah, I think the combination of it has quite a bit more hops, bittering hops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you remember, I think there's 3 hop additions. There's one at the 60, one at the 30, and then there's one
Yes,
at the.
Spalter and
at the 20.
Saz and.
So we've got
What grains are in here?
We've got Pilsen malt, we've got Carafa 2, and we've got, I think there's some Vienna and Munich malt. in
Okay.
that.
And Carafa 2 is not. It's not bitter, right?
Yeah, that's a debittered.
Yeah. So
It's like a 400
is that to help
Lovey
get the
Bond
color?
malt. That's what makes the color right there.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of it, but just enough to give it that golden.
Yeah.
Is there an alt because you've told me before you didn't model it after Schlussel, your recipe. Is there an alt that you did model it or is Schlussel what you're going for?
You know what it is? What I was going for is I like Schlussel and I like Fuchsen.
Yeah.
I was kind of wanting to create something a little between the both of them. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Split the
And
difference.
but you know what I told Todd was when we were there and we were actually, after we've been brewing forever, everywhere we stopped and had an alt beer, we brewed that beer.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
it's amazing
That
how
is
much
amazing.
difference.
Yeah. There's
There
that's
is.
how much difference there is.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to each one and you can taste something a little bit different, but they all taste like an alt beer.
That makes me so much more impressed by those breweries there that are. Schlussel is knocking it out consistent every batch.
Yeah.
Fuchsen is knocking it out consistent every batch.
Well,
Every alt
it helps when you do something for 200 years.
Okay, yeah, good point. You're right.
Yeah, and
So
you have their water and they use open fermentation, which is,
that's what blows my mind. Yeah, I'm over here like, oh, don't open it, Dad. This or that.
that's what the head brewer told me.
Yeah.
You know, he gave me the recipe, but he didn't really give me
But
the
yeah,
When you're brewing, when you're holding it at that temperature,
yeah.
opening it up and doing stuff with it's not going to hurt it because you're at a high enough temperature where you're not going to introduce anything bad. At
Oh,
that
okay.
temperature.
See, that's good to know too. I learn something every time. So anyway, final verdict.
I like it.
It was close enough. Knowing what I messed up, it still fortunately held on
Yeah.
to being an acceptable beer.
still an
But
alt beer.
this is a great lesson to hit your numbers, and you'll get what the recipe intended when you hit your numbers.
Yeah.
What I would say in the end is, James has brewed more alt beers than anybody I know, and this isn't as good as some of his alt beers, but it's better than some.
Exactly. Yeah. I brewed a bunch of crappy alt
I
beer.
brewed a bunch of crappy. And we'll end it on that. If you've brewed this recipe, please leave a comment below. Let us know how yours turned out, or send us some. Or I'm in a photo, or send us some beer.
No, you can send us some
Send
beer.
us some
It's
beer.
okay.
And then stay tuned for next week's episode where we're doing the Founder's Breakfast Stout. So thank you again for joining us for recipe recap and review. All recipes that we reviewed and go over on this are available at homebrewsupply.com. You can use our promo code HHH any time of the year and get 5% off your order. Thank you. We'll see you next time.